Welcome to Kino Society with Owen Shapiro. Welcome to the first episode of Kino Society. Today, we have Robert Fitz, an award-winning director who started his journey of 25 years in the film industry as a makeup and FX artist. Rob has participated as a makeup artist in various well-known movies such as Jumanji, Manchester by the Sea, Surrogates, and many more. Also, after 10 years of hard work, Rob released an action horror film titled God of Vampires, which he directed himself. Let's get to know the world of makeup and movie directing with Rob. Welcome to the show.
So, Rob, I'm just curious, as a kid, did you ever imagine that you would become an award-winning director one day? Has this always been a dream of yours, or is this a passion that developed over the years unexpectedly?
No, actually, I never thought I would do that. I always loved movies, and what I've always wanted to do is special effects makeup. It wasn't until I got to film school, because I thought film school would be the most direct route to doing makeup on people's films, where I made a low budget, little student film, and I did a special effect in it, right, that freaked people out. So basically what I was doing, I showed this movie and I cut someone's face off and I peeled it away. And then I started licking the eye socket, and everyone went crazy, like freaked out. And I said, oh my God, like I need to make movies, I think the power of it and the, amazing, you making people react was wonderful, it was like a great feeling. So I also, in addition to doing makeup, I also kind of garnered a passion to make films as well.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Where did you go for education?
I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York City, and from 1989 to 92. And then I ran out of money and I couldn't continue school, so I had to go home and get a job. But that's where I started. And, after leaving film school, I ended up getting a job landscaping and doing different things, and met some people in the film business and started being a PA, a production assistant.
All right. You started out in the film industry as a makeup and FX artist, though. So how did you come across that path?
Well, interestingly enough, I was working on a few movies as a PA, and this one movie I was working on, it was on Nantucket. This film was being shot on the island of Nantucket, which is right outside Massachusetts, or it's part of Mass, but it's off the coast of Massachusetts. And what happened was the makeup artist that was doing it, she had a drug addiction, and she freaked out, and they had to get rid of her. And it was a low budget movie, so they were like panicked. They were like, we need a makeup artist. Does anyone know how to do makeup? And I've been studying makeup since I was a kid. I just didn't officially have that position. I was just a PA. And I said, well, I know how to do some makeup. And they said, all right, make this guy look dead, right? And they put me in the trailer, and they gave me all the makeup that this particular makeup artist left in the trailer. And I did my thing. He came walking out, and he looked like a corpse. And they loved it. So I became the makeup artist on this movie. And then everyone on the crew and, the people that I knew all said, hey, Rob Fitz is a makeup artist. You should hire him. And then, that's how I got started. Like after that, I just did makeup on movies.
So you think word of mouth is a very important place to start your career?
Absolutely. It's word of mouth is the most important way to start any career, really. Reputation, when people hear people talk, and that's gold,
Yeah. But how do you manage to make it to the larger production films?
Interestingly enough, what happened was I started working on movies right away. I got lucky and I got hired to do makeup on it was a low budget movie in Boston called Squeeze. And this was like early 90s. And the movie, I was the head makeup artist for that. And we did the film, and then it got picked up. It actually got distributed in theaters by, I think it was Miramax. And that, having a movie that got distribution and then your name was on, like, in the theater, it was pretty good. And so people started throwing my name out there. And later on that summer, I got my first, people called me to do makeup on a big budget movie, just to do extras. And that movie was the original Jumanji. That was shot in Keene, New Hampshire, or at least in part in Keene, New Hampshire. So I worked on the original Jumanji. That was my first big movie.
So, but where did your career go from there? How do you think that your makeup has evolved over the years?
Well, when I first started, I kind of had my notions of what makeup was, and I wasn't great, but I did what I could. And then I learned as I went. I was one of these guys who taught himself. And from there, I started doing a lot of little low budget movies and working. I also worked regular jobs because, Boston wasn't like a big place for filming. And I continued to work on movies, work at regular jobs. I did things like I was a janitor. I delivered auto parts, landscaper, all these things. But I looked and pursued makeup jobs because they were the highest paying. I could work. What I made in a day doing makeup was what I made in a week, landscaping. So it was a real tough, it wasn't, it was easy to decide, like, I'm going to go for doing makeup, obviously, because, it's a much higher paying thing. And as I was going along, as the years went on, I, still had that itch to make a film. And when I got to, it was around 1999, I decided to go for it because I had been waiting long enough, and I started writing a script called God of Vampires. And I raised $26,000, and I started shooting it on the weekends. And I'd work on films when I could, and it was kind of cool to work on different movies as a makeup artist. And then a lot of these films, they were low budget, or they had they didn't want to pay to have like sets all the way or materials trashed. So what I would do is I would rent a truck at the end of the film, and I'd say, all right, guys, if you want to, I'll take all the stuff away for you. And I filled the truck up with all the materials, like sets and whatever I could find that they were getting rid of, haul it away for God of Vampires. So basically, my movie was the scavenger of bigger films, and that's how we were able to make a 16 millimeter feature on with a $26,000 budget.
That's very, very impressive. It took 10 years, though. You said it started in 1999, or was that just what you wrote?
Well, I started writing it in 99. We started shooting it in 2000. So it took about a year to write it properly. And I had read the book Rebel Without a Crew, the Robert Rodriguez book, and it inspired me. And I said, you know what, I'm doing this. I got to do this. I mean, this guy did it for less than that. And, if he can do it, I can do it. So I, started shooting in 2000. And what I did was I would do some casting, and I wrote the script in a manner where, like, we could shoot parts of it and they wouldn't be affected by continuity if it took me 10 years to make, so we'd shoot like all of the pieces that didn't require, attention like that. And then we shot a big chunk of it that required, like, the actors to remain the same pretty much at one point. But, it was hard, man. It was, it's one of those things that, you have to be very passionate, crazy, and very clever to get through. And we did it, but it wasn't easy. I can tell you that. It was the hardest thing I've ever done,
Yeah, making a movie as big as that with that little money is almost unheard of, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that, when I saw the movies that I aspired to, they were all the super low budget, cult classics,
Yeah.
and like, the movies that are legend are Evil Dead and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and, Night of the Living Dead. I mean, those are the movies that are legends. And, some guy like, who, makes a movie that like that, like they become, the icons, and not that I really cared about myself doing that, but I wanted the best for the movie. If I'm going to put all this effort into something, I want to at least have some semblance of that respect, So, yeah.
It's weird that nowadays people are gushing over how cheap films like Paranormal Activity are. And just like Blair Witch Project or the new found footage movie that just came out. And those are just completely unimpressive in comparison to a lot of the older stuff. They may be cheap, but they also look really, really cheap.
They do look cheap, yeah.
Yeah, Paranormal Activity, it looks like it was shot with only $15,000.
Yeah. 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 You ever hear what Chris Rock said about the Blair Witch Project?
Yeah, what did he say?
He said, the Blair Witch Project was made for $60,000. It's like somebody's out there walking around with $59,000 in their pocket.
Yeah. That movie is not aged well at all. Now it just seems like a poorly done internet mystery.
Yeah. Yeah. At the time,
At the time it was very gimmicky, but now it's just...
Timing is everything, as we know.
That's why none of the sequels ever took off at all.
No.
So are there any more challenges that you encountered as a film director, maybe from other projects?
Well, let's see. The biggest challenge was finding distribution. And, like once you're done and you've gone through all this stuff and you're exhausted, right? You have to find a way to get it out there. And I did find distribution, but I wasn't entirely satisfied with it. So unfortunately, I think my movie the distribution didn't really do it any favors. When they put it out there, I think the quality was degraded somehow, so it didn't look as very good. It did get on Netflix for a few years before Netflix was as big as it is now, which was cool. But like, I think I got a lot of criticism for, this movie looks like crap, and it kind of like suffered from a low budget look where the movie actually doesn't, like when it's when you see a proper quality video of it or a DVD, it doesn't look like that. It's actually much better. What I want to do is I want to take the film and do a
restoration.
A restoration 4K or something like that of it, so I can actually, because it is shot on film and I have the negative, you know. So I want to do that, kind of maybe remaster the audio, get the whole thing together like that and do something really good. And that way people can really see. I don't feel as though I got the best bang for my buck off that film, because I think I'm very proud of it. And that, believe me, I know horror films. I love horror films. I grew up with all that stuff, and I worship that stuff. But, you know, like it's one of those things where you feel in the end you kind of, you're proud of it and everything, but then you feel as though like, man, I wish things went better.
Yeah, there's more potential to be had with it.
There is, and and I think that I didn't achieve what I really wanted to achieve. So I think, you know, at this point, I think I want to go and do some more with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely understand that. It's just the fact that it was a movie you worked on for 10 years as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people died in the process.
People died.
Not because of us, but, you know, during the making, it's just such a long time, you know. And we had some really cool things happen during it, too. Like, one of the guys, do you know the movie Bad Taste?
Not familiar with it, no.
Okay, so Bad Taste was Peter Jackson's first movie. And I was putting God of Vampires out on the internet. We had like a little website and stuff. And the guy, one of Peter Jackson's friends that was in Bad Taste, messaged me, sent me an email, and was like, "Oh my God, Rob! Like, this is the coolest thing. All your stories you're writing about your film, that reminds me of us when we were making Bad Taste." And that was like an amazing compliment. I'm like, wow, like, you know, we're reminding him of you know, Peter Jackson in his beginnings. So that was a big boost. So I asked the guy to do a voiceover, and this is back in like 2002, a voiceover, and email it to me, and I'll use it in the movie. So we actually have this guy, Pete O'Hearn, who's since passed away, in the film. And so Pete O'Hearn's in the movie as a voice, you know. So that was kind of cool. Little obscure thing. Any like horror fans might know it, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, like we would do little things like that.
All right. So back to makeup for a little bit. Do you have any specific procedure that you follow when doing a character's makeup?
Well, it depends on what you're doing. When you're sitting in the chair and when you have an actor sitting in the chair and you have to do something specific, you go by various steps. You a lot of times like clean the skin, maybe moisturize it, make sure, you know, they don't have any allergies, and then you get to work. So like if you're just doing a regular, you know, cosmetic makeup, a lot of times, you know, it could be something so as simple as a little foundation, a little powder, you know, maybe some mascara, you know, a little lip color or whatever, depending on the person. And that's it. But if you're like doing a whole prosthetic, that's all planned out in advance. So, you know, you clean them up and you put on your, you know, prosthetics, you glue them on, and you start painting and airbrushing and stuff like that. You know, it's makeup is such a big, like, or an art form that encompasses so many things that there's a lot, you know, going on with it. It's not really easy to sum up. You have to, you know, there's so many aspects of art that are in it, meaning like, you know, sculpting, painting, fine art, photography, you know, movies, so many different things like that. So it's an art form that kind of encompasses every other art form, you know. And then, you know, at the end you put in like their teeth or maybe they're wearing contact lenses, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And what about in terms of inspiration? Are you allowed to do your own thing, or is there a specific set of guidelines that say back to you?
Well, that all depends on the director, you know. If you're doing it for a movie, I've run into directors who have a very specific vision, and you'll talk about it way ahead of time, and you'll figure out, you know, what they want exactly. But then there's other ones that are, hands off, or you're just getting communication from like the department head. So like the makeup department head will tell you, okay, you're going to make these people look, stressed and tired, or sweaty and dirty, or you'll get those kinds of instructions and you'll do your thing. There was a movie that's actually coming out on Netflix called Hootie's Halloween. It's an Adam Sandler film. And I worked on that amongst with 20 other makeup artists. And we were giving people that were going out for Halloween. It was every whole thing takes place on Halloween, and I had to make them up, or, we had to grab someone and they said, oh, well, we're, a witch, or we're a blah, blah, blah. So then you'd have to make them up as, one of those things. And then the next person is a skeleton, or the next one is like could be as simple as like they were just a surf bum or something, and they had to paint like white makeup on their nose, like they were like that was suntan lotion or something. So it was fun, but that's, I know I was told that you had seen my credit in Manchester by the Sea.
Yes, I did. I have seen that movie.
So, so what was funny about that one is the director of that, he's the only director I've ever seen, and not one, I've never seen one in my whole career. I worked on a lot of movies. Come to the background holding and talk to me about what he wanted the background to look like. Like the director comes in and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Who are you? And he goes, oh, I'm the director. He's like, I'm like, really? I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I want these extras to be this, 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 and this. And I'm like, okay, I will do it. Thank you. And usually it's like, it's usually a PA or a second AD, someone like far down the chain, or it'll just be, the makeup department head or the key makeup artist or something, someone not as official as that, so that was very interesting, to have a director come up to you and give you instructions as a background makeup artist. On other movies, when you're like the department head, then you have a lot more interaction, with the main guys.
Yeah, I heard that a lot of directors, some of the best directors, are hands-on, like really hands-on with their staff.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and Manchester by the Sea was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, that's actually shot in Gloucester, Mass, or a lot of it, and my shop is right down the road from Gloucester. My store.
And so, speaking of directors, can you tell us how a director's typical day looks like when he's in the middle of a film production?
Well, for me, you take out your shot list and you talk to the AD and the DP. You know what those terms are.
Yeah.
And they're getting everything ready. You talk to the production designer. You look at the set. You talk to your actors, and maybe you block the scene out physically before makeup, and then they go off to have their makeup and hair done while the DP and his the gaffers and grips and stuff light the set. But then as far as a low budget movie, we don't have like a big crew. Like, we're blessed with having hardly anybody. So what I would do is I would write down a list of like 30 shots that I needed to get. And our lighting, was pretty simple. So we get everyone done. A lot of times I had to jump in and help doing makeup and stuff because we just didn't have everyone. And I would get everyone to set, and I would be like, all right, first shot we're going to do is, and I would explain things to people and get everyone ready, and then we would go. And we were really like, when you're shooting low budget like that, you're running and gunning, like you're going so fast that you can get 20 to 30 probably 30 setups done in a day. And your day is not necessarily a 12-hour day either. You know, you can do things pretty quick. That's how I loved, that's what I don't really know any different because as far as directing movies, because I never worked beyond like these low budget standards, but that's the way I prefer to do it, to just crank it out and not have a lot of like outside noise influencing. It's funny, like when you see a low budget movie, even though it doesn't have the money to make it polished, keep in mind that what you see, for better or for worse, is usually the director's complete vision. Meaning, like, there's very little, communication breakdown between the director and the camera and the actors. Like, it's usually right there, because there's no one else, or there's hardly anyone else, So, but at least that's my experience. And I think I was able to pull off some pretty cool stuff with that. I think we did pretty well. At least people we showed the movies to felt that, they liked it.
So finally, where can my listeners find you and connect with you?
All right. Now one of my big focuses, my main focus, is my shop in Salem, Mass, called the Magic Parlor, and I have a website, magicparlor.com, and we have a Facebook page. If you look up the Magic Parlor on Facebook, and you're welcome to, you can message me there. You can go on to the Magic Parlor website and message us. And if you're in Salem, Mass, because Halloween's coming, even though with everything is COVID and everyone's kind of staying at home, there are a lot of people coming out to Salem for the Halloween season. It's like the whole month of October. You can come visit us at Salem, Mass, and I most likely will be in the store. I'm a hands-on director, but I'm also a hands-on shop owner. So a lot of times I'm behind the register. So it would be good to meet you, anyone coming by. And if you mention this podcast, if you listen to this and you heard about us there, let me know. I'd love to see that,
All right. Thank you very much. And that's all for today. Don't forget you can subscribe to Kino Society on iTunes and Spotify.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.